If you go to a church, then you've heard about tithing. Chances are good that you've seen signs around your church about the importance of tithing. And at your more progressive churches, you've certainly heard sermons about tithing. If you tithe, you will be blessed. Tithe and good things will happen to you. If you don't tithe, don't expect anything good to happen to you. Some will even go as far as to say you are cursed if you don't tithe. But what does the Bible say about tithing? First, you should know that the tithe was a Jewish law. It was the customary thing to do during the times of the Old Testament. The tithe, which means tenth, was from whatever you produced. So if you were a farmer, you gave a tenth of your produce. If you were a herder, you gave a tenth of your animals. Money wasn't the focus. The tithe was given to certain Levites who had no claims to the land. Most Jews of today do not follow the old law, as there are no ordained Levites according to this rabbi.
Now, the Levites received a portion of this tithe, and that is because the Levites had no inheritance in the land of Israel. Therefore, they had no other means of income unless the children of Israel would give the tithe, and they took a portion of that tithe for themselves to feed their family, to clothe their family, to provide for their needs and the needs of the Levitical community. Since there is no Levitical priesthood working in a temple, there is no such thing as a tithe right now. Now, once the third temple is rebuilt, and let's say we move back to the land of Israel, then you can start worrying about giving a tithe and working out all the things that a tithe is.
Christians are supposed to follow Jesus, and Jesus never talked of tithing specifically. In fact, when Jesus observed rich Jews that were tithing, he said that a woman who gave only 2 coins gave more than anyone because she gave all she had. Jesus focused on the spirit of giving and not a specific amount. When it comes to supporting the actual church, in many synagogues, there is a box at the back of the church. If anyone wants to give to the church specifically, they can do so by dropping whatever amount that's in their heart in the box. Jesus also believes in giving to the poor. He talks about giving to the poor many times. I reiterate, giving to the poor. So in the case of Christianity, which literally means Christ-like, Jesus would rather you give to someone in need rather than a church. Speaking of the poor, the U.S. poverty line for 4 people in a house is about $24,000. The average net worth of a Black or Latino household is less than $15,000. I would estimate that for Black and Latino Christians, more than half of the people who attend churches are below the poverty line. That means, as far as Jesus is concerned, if you are below the poverty line, you are the last person that should be giving to a church. Instead, someone should be giving to you. But again, like the poor widowed woman in the Bible, if you want to give, you can. Jesus cares more about your heart than specific amounts that you give. If you give 10%, but you have an attitude the whole time, God would rather you keep your money. As the Bible says, God likes a cheerful giver. The most important thing of all is this: tithing or giving is not in any way tied to your salvation. You cannot buy God's grace. You cannot buy a ticket to heaven. The Bible does say that if you sow sparingly, you will reap sparingly. But that is a choice, not a requirement. The Bible also says that when you give, you should do so in secret. So that $50 line your pastor asks you to do is not God. That preacher telling you to give a specific amount so that you'll be blessed is also not God. The vlog that you did where you talked about giving $20,000 to victims of Hurricane Harvey is not God. Everything that I told you is in the Bible. Read it for yourself. I challenge you to then take these findings to these preachers. So in short, tithing is an old Jewish law that many Jews who still operate under the old law don't follow today. Christians who operate under Christ were also never required to tithe. Whatever church you attend is supposed to survive on donations freely given from members or even non-members. In other words, your church is supposed to depend on faith. Now, where have I heard that before?